Hey there, folks. Welcome to the meeting. We'll be getting started in just a moment.
Good evening and welcome to our virtual community meeting. To choose whether you'd like to listen in English or Spanish, please click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and select your preferred language option. Hola y bienvenidos a nuestra reunión virtual. Para elegir si desea escuchar en inglés o en español, haga clic en el botón Interpretación en la parte inferior de la pantalla y seleccione el idioma que prefiera. If you'd like to follow along with a Spanish translated slide deck, please visit projectconnect.com/get-involved. We are also placing the link directly to the PDFs into the chat box for this meeting. Si desea seguir junto con una presentación traducida en español, visite projectconnect.com, get involved. También colocamos en el cuadro del chat el enlace directamente en el PDF para esta reunión. We also have live closed captioning available in English. You can turn on this feature by clicking the CC button in the Zoom meeting toolbar, which is located in the bottom middle of your screen. We currently have an American Sign Language interpreter pinned to the screen, and we will have ASL interpretation available throughout the meeting. So if you need ASL interpretation, go ahead and pin that person to your screen now. Thank you again for joining us today for the virtual presentation and breakout group discussions on the Orange Line. We have a lot to share and discuss today, so let's get started. I'm Jackie Nierenberg, and I'm joined today by Lonnie Stern, who's managing our events this week. In addition, we have several speakers today who will be introduced when it's their turn to speak. The first portion of the meeting will be presentation style, with an opportunity for us to share information with you. Then we'll move to breakout sessions designed to hear from you. If you're watching this meeting on social media and would like to participate in a breakout session after the initial presentation, please stay tuned and we'll share the link by the end of this broadcast. For now, all participants are muted, and we ask that you submit any questions or comments via the Q&A feature in the bottom center of your screen. If you don't see it immediately, try hovering in the bottom middle of your screen and it will appear. Your questions and comments will be received by our moderator and may be addressed at the end of the presentation or added to the discussion agenda. If you're watching on social media, please submit any questions or comments in the chat feature. Finally, I want to mention that all of these materials are available online through a self-guided version of this meeting. You can access those materials and provide your feedback on what we'll be discussing in the breakout groups by going to projectconnect.com/get-involved. We'll put the link directly in the chat. With that, let's get started. Let's see, I think we're supposed to have a video queued, but it doesn't look like that's happening. So we'll get back to that in just a minute. So what we'll do is go right to the programmatic overview. So Project Connect is moving forward on a lot of levels in many exciting ways. Before we jump into the Orange Line presentation, we want to share some program-wide updates. Project Connect is a transit plan designed for Austin. It is not just one project or one type of service like rail or bus. It's an interconnected system that will bring a number of firsts to Austin, including light rail service, a subway, expanded bus service, an all-electric fleet, more on-demand circulator routes, and new park and rides to provide more connections into the larger transit system. Before we talk more about Project Connect, let's take a quick look at the history of planning and transit in Austin. This is the 1939 Waller Plan for Austin. It places the streets in a clear grid pattern, radiating east and west from the central spine and civic axis of Congress Avenue. The plan was fairly advanced for its time. Notice that it includes significant room for public spaces, including 4 planned green spaces, 3 of which are still here today. It also ties the city to the natural environmental features like the Colorado River and what we now know as Lady Bird Lake. So what does the Waller Plan have to do with Project Connect? Project Connect is not only an opportunity to invest in mobility, it's also an opportunity to create great public spaces. It's a chance to reinforce the public realm in neighborhoods all across our city. One thing that we also have to remember is that Austin has a robust history of transit. In fact, transit was an integral part of planning in the early 20th century in Austin. Did you know that there were 3 intercity passenger rail lines in Austin? They traveled along 3rd, 4th, and 5th Streets. There were also 2 great stations located on Congress Avenue, making it the preeminent transportation center of the region. Streetcars were also a part of Austin in the early 20th century. From 1891 to 1940, a system of 10 streetcar lines branched out to all parts of the growing city from its hub on Congress Avenue. We have an opportunity to build upon some of the positive planning decisions in our history, but we must also acknowledge and learn from the mistakes of the past. In 1928, Austin developed a master plan that forcibly moved people of color to East Austin. The repercussions of that infamous plan are still very real. Public transportation has also played a role in perpetuating those inequities. But now we have an opportunity to leverage public transportation to make lasting change. Project Connect will be an inclusive and transformative program that will help address these long-standing inequities by connecting people to jobs, education, healthcare, and each other. As we work together to build a transit system that will serve all Austinites, we want to learn from the mistakes of the past and create a city that makes people feel welcomed, respected, and comfortable. Project Connect is a way for us to reimagine transit as inclusive and equitable. The program will add facilities that will be accessible by all. We imagine spaces that feel hospitable, welcoming, and inclusive. A city with a transit system that people can be proud of. And this is an opportunity to reimagine our public spaces. The program will add transit facilities, as well as space for drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians. The program will also aim to protect existing trees and add more where possible. This image shows the sequence plan for the overall program. As you can see, we're in our first year and working on most of the projects already in the program, including orange and blue lines, our 2 light rail lines. And the program also includes enhancements to the red line, additional Metro Rapid lines, improved Metro Express and Metro bus services, and additional parking rights. Since Proposition A passed in November 2020, we've reached multiple milestones for the program. As you can see, there are too many to name here, but here are some of the highlights. We've established the Austin Transit Partnership, or ATP, which is a partnership between CAT Metro and the City of Austin to implement Project Connect. The team continues to work on planning the new McCalla Station, including additional bus infrastructure. Work on the new Broadmoor Station has also begun, and improvements are being made to increase capacity and frequency on the Red Line. Two new Metro Rapid lines, the Expo Line and the Pleasant Valley Line, were included in President Biden's fiscal year 2022 budget request to Congress. The request proposed a total of $36.1 million combined for the lines. The team will be back to the community in the fall to get your feedback on the next two lines to move forward, which are the Burnett to Menchaca and Oak Hill line and the Gold Line. The conceptual engineering, or 15% design, for the orange and blue lines is complete. And today, we'll be showing you the design plans for both of those lines. We've met with the community as part of new working groups, and we've had two sets of public meetings to get your feedback on how the orange and blue lines can best fit into our community. We're excited to continue that dialogue with you today. Environmental work is also underway. We're continuing to add more pickup zones. That's our neighborhood circulator service. The latest one to come online is the Menchaca service, with the Oak Hill zone to follow next month. And ATP continues to coordinate closely with the City of Austin on transit, roadway, and bicycle and pedestrian facilities for both lines. We're also coordinating closely with our other partner agencies. Today, we're here to talk with you about a program that will help transform our city. The projects in this program do come with trade-offs, though. We'll be retrofitting our city to accommodate new transit opportunities in each section of the corridors, and that is no easy feat. We need your help. Today's meeting will include breakout sessions to communicate about the project at a neighborhood level. We hope that you will give us your input and let us know what you think. We're working together to do it right, and right isn't always easy. But remember that we're in this together. Thanks again for joining us today. From here, I'd like to pass it over to Jerry Smiley, who will be giving an overview of the Orange Line. Unless we have the video ready, which in that case, we can cue the video, guys.
Project
we
Connect
do.
is
Great.
all in on building a comprehensive transit system that will transform us into one of the most sustainable, equitable, and innovative metropolitan areas in the country. A place where we can all share in the many opportunities our region offers. All in on transforming us into a more connected region. With new rail lines stretching across our city, going under busy, bustling streets, and serving communities citywide. Plus, a more accessible bus system to more frequently connect neighborhoods than ever before. But Project Connect is more than just the vans, buses, and trains helping us get around easier. It's built upon our values: opportunity and equity, environment and sustainability, and innovation and technology. A truly comprehensive transit system can connect people to opportunities. Project Connect will help create thousands of good local jobs and provide more access to healthcare, education, employment, essential services, entertainment, and will also create and maintain more affordable places to live. It's designed to help us all move toward a future without limits. There's a shared passion in our community for the environment. That's why a commitment to the environment and sustainable practices are core to Project Connect. We envision a zero-emission fleet, and we will lean into the challenge to conserve and protect natural resources in the decisions we make. Technology and innovation inspire much of who we are as a region. Project Connect will embrace that spirit, making transportation smarter, more efficient, enjoyable, and easier to use. This place belongs to every single one of us, those of us who live here now and those of us who will live here in the future. Project Connect was designed to let us all share in the many things our area has to offer: jobs, education, relationships, entertainment, family. We're all eager to connect on every level. Project Connect is all in for bringing us together in ways we hoped for, dreamed of, needed. Come see how you can be a part of it.
All right. Now take it away, Jerry, and give us
right.
the program overview on the Orange Line.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Smiley, and I'm joined today for the presentation by several members of the Orange Line project team. And we want to thank you again for participating in today's meeting. So here's the agenda for today's presentation. We'll start by reviewing the project background and describe where we are in the planning process. Then we're going to explain the light rail design considerations that have gone into the project's current conceptual design. We will also walk you through the project's alignment from end to end. This presentation will include a recap of the environmental analyses and the next steps for the project. After this overview presentation, you'll have the opportunity to participate in a breakout session organized by geographic areas. You'll click a link to move into the breakout waiting room, and from there you'll have the opportunity to select a virtual breakout room that is right for you. So let's get started on a refresher of the background for the project. So the Orange Line is defined as light rail transit operating in a dedicated transit way all the way from Tech Ridge Park and Ride in the north to just north of Slaughter Lane in the south end of the corridor. Up to 22 stations are proposed along the route, and service would operate approximately every 10 minutes. Given recent trends in federal grant funding, the funding approved by the City of Austin voters would provide the local match to build an initial investment in the Orange Line from Stasny to North Lamar. That's the solid orange line on the screen. However, the project team is clearing the entire corridor from Slaughter Lane all the way to Tech Ridge Park and Ride through the federal NEPA process. NEPA stands for the National Environmental Policy Act. And in the event that additional federal or other funding becomes available to expedite construction of the full corridor, we will have covered it through the NEPA process. As part of the initial investment, the northern and the southern ends of the project will continue to be served by Rapid Bus. This graphic is designed to represent the entire project life cycle with a focus on the phase we are in now, which is indicated by the shaded red box. Prior to this phase, as shown, the orange and the blue line locally preferred alternatives were unanimously adopted by the Capital Metro Board of Directors and endorsed by the Austin City Council on June 10th of 2020. In November 2020, the City of Austin voters approved an 8.75-cent tax rate increase to help fund the next phase of implementation for the system plan, which includes both the orange and blue lines, and allowed us to enter into the phase we are in now, again, the NEPA process or the environmental phase. Earlier this year, we shared some information with the community on the NEPA scoping process for both projects and explained what to expect over the next few years. We're now moving into that next phase, and which is the development of the draft environmental impact statement. After this phase is complete, the project can move into final design, and then construction, and eventually testing and operation. An important aspect highlighted in this graphic is that public engagement will be conducted throughout this phase and future phases of the project. For more information about the project and the NEPA process, you can access the materials developed for our scoping phase at projectconnect.com. Visit the Get Involved page and then scroll to the bottom and look at previous virtual meetings. So there are 4 corridor design milestones that mark our progress in the project. They go from 15, 30, 60, and 100% design. At the same time that the environmental process is underway, the engineering team is working on the preliminary design plans for the project. That's the 15% design that we're showing you today. The environmental analysis and preliminary engineering, they influence each other as we work towards the final environmental impact statement and the final 30% design plans. Today, we're going to be sharing with you the 15% design, and the 30% design should be completed sometime in the spring of 22. So the 15% design includes a lot of elements, including engineering alignments, estimated right-of-way requirements, and the identification of significant engineering or environmental challenges. During today's presentation, we will share the light rail design elements and criteria that inform the project's design. We will also discuss the constraints and considerations that have gone into determining options for solving complex engineering challenges within the corridor. These considerations and your input on the project's design, including station design and amenities, are going to be used to refine those engineering plans. So as part of the 15% design process, we're also analyzing other elements like traffic impacts, initial estimates for things like service frequency, ridership. More information on these items, as well as the analysis of potential environmental impacts and mitigation strategies as necessary, will be shared in the months ahead. So to recap some of our recent engineering, environmental, and public engagement efforts, we have conducted right-of-way and utility surveys. We've coordinated with the City of Austin on planned roadway, bicycle, and pedestrian facilities and future development projects. We've also initiated archaeological, environmental, and historic resources field investigations. We've held 2 rounds of public meetings, including scoping meetings that were held between January through March, and station alignment meetings in April and May of this year. This community input really helps us understand your concerns and desires as we continue to design the project. More details about community engagement and the input gathered so far is on the Project Connect website. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan, who's going to give you more information on the light rail design elements that have informed our 15% design to date.
Great, thank you very much, Jerry. So Jackie shared this image earlier that shows the common elements of a street right-of-way that incorporates a light rail transitway and a station. Because there's limited space for transportation in the existing right-of-way, we plan to reimagine the right-of-way and consider trade-offs for prioritizing the use of the space and to determine if we need to acquire more space when minimizing impacts. When we say reimagine the right-of-way, we mean that we can work to include safe pedestrian facilities, trees, dedicated space for cyclists, to prioritize connections to local bus routes, and to identify opportunities for public art. It's important to note that everywhere the light rail system will go and travel throughout the city, we're also looking to see how we can improve the physical fabric of the city in a holistic way. We take a holistic, human-centered design approach to the light rail system. A number of criteria influence the design of a light rail system. This includes the technical requirements of the light rail transit, such as the space needed for the transitway, typically about 28 feet wide, as well as the space needed for station platforms, the turning radius of vehicles, and more. In addition, the Austin Strategic Mobility Plan, or ASMP, provides the criteria for accommodating Austin's multimodal transportation network, which includes bicycle and pedestrian facilities and travel lanes for cars and buses. Each of these facilities has a desired and minimum width and placement within the right-of-way. Light rail has to meet specific design criteria. Additionally, floodplains, utility conflicts, historic properties, parks and recreation space, and other aspects of the physical environment can guide the design. At this phase, the engineering team is assessing all of these factors to determine where and how the light rail lines could operate within the existing physical environment. Each of these factors, as well as community feedback on specific local issues and needs, goes into the development of the 15% design plans. In these next few slides, we'll review the light rail technical requirements to demonstrate some of the constraints we're working within as we design the project. In addition, we'll talk about how light rail vehicles travel through intersections and the considerations that go into selecting station locations. The maximum grade that a transitway can navigate without costly engineering solutions is approximately a 6% slope. Similarly, stations should not be located on an incline, but instead should be located on flat land in order to accommodate all users as they board and depart the train. The maximum and minimum curve radius does vary based on a number of different factors. The light rail vehicles cannot make hard turns. Rather, the vehicles require wide and sweeping turns to operate efficiently. Similarly, in order for the train doors to align with the station platform, a train must be in a straight line when it comes to a station to provide safety and accessibility for riders. Operation of the transitway also requires that other vehicles turn at signalized intersections rather than just crossing the transitway. This slide illustrates an example of how a car might make a left-hand turn into an existing driveway without light rail by turning left directly across travel lanes. With a light rail transitway, the auto traffic would need to go to the intersection to make a U-turn and come back to access the driveway or street of their final destination. Similarly, in this slide, we see the image on the right is the same as the previous slide, which shows how a vehicle turns when a light rail vehicle is either stopped or has passed through an intersection. During this time, vehicles that are turning and crossing the transitway will be able to do so. The image on the left shows the light rail vehicles traveling straight through the intersection, along with the vehicles that are traveling straight on the existing roadway. Light rail vehicles will be given priority treatment at intersections to ensure travel times are faster and more reliable. So much of our work in selecting station locations was conducted in earlier phases. This slide provides a helpful high-level summary of how we evaluated where to locate a station along a corridor. Stations should maximize their connections to the existing transit network, ideally providing stations that can be used by multiple bus routes or light rail routes. They should balance speed and access with stop spacing, meaning that when we zoom out from the station to see the radius of the area that a passenger could reasonably access on foot or on bike, we're looking for a balance in coverage. Our goal is to minimize overlap in lower density areas while at the same time minimizing gaps in coverage. In higher density areas, we may want more overlap between coverage areas to serve the most users conveniently. And finally, we want to serve high population and high activity areas, meaning stations would ideally be located close enough to the places that people want to go so that once they arrive at a station, they can walk or bike to their final destination with relative ease. So it's sometimes challenging to imagine how all of this comes together. So we wanted to share some example images of how these elements look in other communities. Here, the left and center image provide examples of how a street level transitway might look. The image on the right shows an elevated transitway. On this slide, we're showing images of how a transitway might look as it goes into or comes out of an underground tunnel or subway. These structures are called portals. And here we show some example images of light rail stations from other communities. The image on the left shows a street level station in downtown Minneapolis. The image in the center shows an elevated station in Dallas, and the image on the right shows an underground station in Seattle, Washington. Now that we've covered the basics of the engineering process and requirements, we'll talk about the Orange Line specifically and how we've applied those basics to the project's 15% design. The locally preferred alternative shared with the community in June of 2020 was a combination of the mode, which is light rail, the transitway, which provides dedicated space for transit, and the vertical profile. We shared the profile that you see here as part of the earlier design phase for the projects. So we wanted to update you on some of the more significant design advances that have been made since the adoption of the LPA to provide a better overall picture of what the Orange Line design plan looks like today. For now, an overview. Working from the south through Oltorf, the vertical profile being shown today is the same as shown previously. We still have multiple configuration options for both the transitway and station at SoCo. We're also proposing a subway from Auditorium Shores to Government Center / Capitol West Station, meaning that the project would tunnel under Lady Bird Lake. This tunnel was formerly shown ending north of Lady Bird Lake. There are still some options under consideration for the exact location of the tunnel's end, both at the south and the north end, or the portal. We are proposing a street-level transitway between the UT West Mall and Crestview stations. We are now proposing an elevated station at Crestview and an elevated transitway crossing I-35 between Parmer and Tech Ridge. These are both elevated primarily to avoid conflicts with other transportation facilities. In this slide, you'll also notice some icons that we've incorporated throughout the next set of slides. Let me take a moment to walk through what these mean. The rectangle with the word bus inside indicates that the station provides connections to local bus routes. The circle with the letter P inside indicates that we are currently proposing a park and ride at that station. A clear circle with a gold outline and a G inside indicates that the station provides a connection to the future Gold Line. A blue circle with a B inside indicates that the station provides a connection to the Blue Line, another light rail line in the initial investment. A clear circle with a purple outline and an M inside indicates that the station provides a connection to an existing or future Metro Rapid route. A red square with an R inside indicates that the station provides a connection to the Red Line commuter rail, our existing commuter rail line. And finally, a green square with a G inside indicates that the station provides a connection to the Green Line commuter rail, which is a proposed green commuter rail line in the initial investment. As you can see that we are focused on the Orange Line in this presentation, we are considering how the Orange Line would connect to other services within the existing and future transit system. These icons are carried forward throughout the rest of the next set of slides to help you understand how this project connects to the Project Connect system as a whole. Over the next group of slides, we are going to be walking through a series of aerial views for the entire Orange Line project, and we'll call out specific aspects of the project we want to bring to your attention. After that, we'll break out into working group sessions where we'll walk through the actual engineering plans and schematics and pause as needed to explain specific aspects of the project and to answer questions. So I believe Julia is going to go ahead and get us started in South Austin.
That's right, Jonathan, thank you. So starting from the southern end of the corridor, the transitway follows South Congress Avenue, meaning all of the stations would be along South Congress. As indicated by the dotted orange line, the Slaughter and William Cannon stations are not part of the initial investment, so they would likely not be built as part of the first project, but could be built as part of a future extension. Slaughter Station would likely be near the Ralph Ablanedo Drive and would include a park and ride connected to I-35. This connection would provide convenient access for those coming from the south on I-35. The William Cannon Station would be placed near the William Cannon Drive intersection. The Stastny Station would serve as the interim southern end for the initial investment and would include a park and ride and bus bays for multimodal connectivity. So for the Slaughter Station, before we get started, let's do a quick orientation to the layout of the next group of slides. So in the top left corner, you'll see the station or area we're focusing on. In the top right, you'll see a list of numbers and notes. When you look at the center aerial image, you'll see that there are also numbers. The number on the image matches to a corresponding note on the right side of the page. Additionally, on most of the aerial images, you'll see green arrows at each of the station platforms. These green arrows indicate how pedestrians would access the station platform. Below the notes, you'll see a cross-section diagram. This corresponds to the matching letter on the aerial image. This is an engineering concept used to show what the right-of-way would look like if you crossed it at a particular location. For these cross-sections, orange indicates light rail tracks and stations. Green indicates the pedestrian and bicycle facilities, generally with a tree and furniture zone between them. Gray indicates the general purpose lanes or lanes used for cars, buses, or truck through and turning traffic. Finally, across the bottom of the slide, you can see the full Orange Line project to better illustrate what area of the project we're looking at. Now, to discuss this slide specifically, because Slaughter would eventually serve as the end of the line, a new park and ride is proposed. The station would be located off of Congress for convenient access by patrons and connecting buses. Through this area, the project would be built at grade, and the crossing you see that brings the project into the middle of the existing South Congress would also be built at grade and managed with signals. From Foremost to Ditmar, we anticipate that the roadway and track will be at the same elevation, but that they would both be raised above where they exist today to accommodate a new bridge structure at Boggy Creek. Other than this, the track is anticipated to run at street level and in the middle of the existing roadway in this area. As we approach William Cannon, you can see that the station would be split on both sides of the intersection. This means the southbound platform would be located south of the intersection, and the northbound platform would be located on the north side. This allows for a narrower station and can accommodate left turns without additional right-of-way needed. The platforms are served by two different directions of train traffic. The platform on the north side of the intersection is served by northbound traffic, and the platform on the south side is served by southbound traffic. The trains do not cross between the platforms. This is true of all of the split platform stations you'll see throughout this presentation. Generally speaking, a center platform is the ideal alignment. However, a split platform is sometimes used in situations with constrained right-of-way. We reviewed the basics of station layouts in a series of public meetings in April. To learn more, go to projectconnect.com and visit the Get Involved page, then scroll to the bottom to look at previous virtual meetings. Through this area, the track is street level and runs in the middle of the roadway. So as a reminder, Stastny is the start of the initial investment. Based on preliminary design, South Congress will likely be an above-ground station due to conflicts near the State Highway 71, State Highway 290 frontage roads, and Rodham Lane. The St. Edward Station would be located near the intersection of Lightsey Road and South Congress. Just south of this view, the tracks begin to shift to the side of the road. This occurs just north of Little Texas Lane via a signalized intersection. This shift is to accommodate the proposed new park and ride station just north of the Stastny intersection at street level. This park and ride station is proposed because Stastny would be the initial investment terminus. Just south of the proposed Stastny station, right-of-way ownership shifts from TxDOT to the City of Austin. Just north of Mockingbird Lane, the tracks begin to elevate to avoid Williamson Creek and the associated floodplain. As we continue north, you can see that the guideway crosses back over the existing lanes and drops back into the center of the roadway. Through coordination with multiple divisions within the City of Austin, we anticipate closing Lawson Road to accommodate this transition back to center and at-grade tracks. Just north of Sheridan Avenue, the guideway begins a transition to an elevated structure as it approaches the South Congress Transit Center, or SCTC. Elevating the guideway and the SCTC allows us to avoid traffic impacts at Ben White Boulevard, State Highway 71, and Rodham Lane. North of the State Highway 71 Ben White intersection, the transitway begins to lower back down to the middle of South Congress. The tracks are at grade by Alpine Street and run in the center at grade through the St. Ed station. We are currently showing a split platform for the St. Edward station on either side of the Woodward Street intersection. We are also considering a center running platform for this station and are working with St. Edwards and other stakeholders to determine which option moves forward. The Oltorf station would be near the existing 801 stop at Oltorf. The location of the South Congress and Auditorium Shores stations are still being determined. A general area is indicated. This is also the area that the light rail line will make a turn to follow the alignment of Guadalupe Street. Progressing along, the transitway would continue at street level and in the center through the Oltorf station area. The proposed Oltorf station is a center platform positioned to the south of the Oltorf intersection. This does require more right-of-way as shown. A split platform is not possible due to the roadway curvature north of Oltorf. We anticipate being able to accommodate full separated bicycle and pedestrian facilities throughout this area. At the corner of College and Oltorf, we are aware of a historical building that will not be impacted, though the parcel it sits on is not historic and may be impacted. Multiple design options are under consideration, which could impact the vertical alignment of transitway and station location in the business district of South Congress. You are currently viewing the surface level option. Another option would be an extension of the subway to Live Oak. These options will be discussed in the SoCo Working Group breakout session following this presentation. Regardless of where the subway tunnel ends and the south portal is located, the transitway is underground in the southern approach to the Auditorium Shores station. You can see how the transitway also leaves the alignment of Congress in this area. Because it is underground, there will be no right-of-way impacts in this area, and the exact station location is adjustable. This is the best path to avoid utilities and create access to activity centers and to maintain a higher level of service via a higher design speed using a sweeping curve as shown in the slide. The tunnel continues, but underground. The transitway begins to come in line with Guadalupe north of the river. A minor note here is to mention the transparent building on the left. This building is not in the aerial views because it was recently constructed. Several slides have similar shadow buildings so that the aerial views better reflect the current, and as we all know, ever-changing landscape of structures in this area. The Republic Square station will be underground in the vicinity of 4th Street. This is also where the orange and blue lines will connect. The Government Center Capitol West station will also be underground. This is where I'll hand it off to Christina to walk you through the rest of the project.
Thanks, Julia. We anticipate providing roadway improvements in the area north of 3rd Street and north of 6th Street, even though the transitway is underground in this area. This is because we are currently proposing a cut and cover tunnel rather than a bored tunnel for construction only, so the roadway would be rebuilt as part of construction. We are currently proposing a minimum of 3 pedestrian entrances, including a signature entrance just to the north of 4th Street on the west side of Guadalupe. There are 3 options for Government Center Station location that are still being evaluated. These options will also be discussed in the Downtown Working Group breakout session following this presentation. The north portal is where light rail vehicles headed south will enter the subway and vehicles headed north will exit the subway. The option shown proposes the north portal located north of MLK Boulevard. An additional option would place the north portal south of MLK Boulevard between 16th and 18th Streets. These options will also be discussed in the Downtown Working Group breakout session following this presentation. The UTE West Mall 24th Street station has the highest pedestrian activity in the corridor, and the platforms will be located in proximity to the West Campus entrance on the drag. Hemphill Park, another high pedestrian activity station, would likely be between 27th and 29th Streets. Reconfiguring the existing Nueces, North Guadalupe, and 29th Streets is critical to improving mobility throughout the West Campus area. There are 3 operational configuration options in the drag area, but all of the options have the UT West Mall Station as a center platform in the same general area shown in this image. Pedestrian access would be provided on both sides of the platform, though you can only see one side in this view. It's important to note that all options also include some reduction of vehicle travel lanes through the drag area. These options will be discussed in the drag working group breakout session on August 3rd. The operational configuration options in the drag area extend through the Hemphill Park Station area shown on this slide. Due to the anticipated vehicle traffic lane reductions on Guadalupe, a new connection from Dean Keaton to San Antonio is required. This image shows the proposed center-aligned Hemphill Park Station. Additionally, we are proposing to reconfigure the 29th and Guadalupe intersection to improve safety and access. Nueces is one-way today, but the City of Austin plans to change the operation of this street to two-way. The reconfiguration of this intersection, in conjunction with the Orange Line Guideway, will work better for two-way traffic on Nueces, as well as providing a much safer crossing than the current intersection. This slide is an excellent example of station spacing for a moderately dense area. The Hyde Park Station is proposed in the area of the 38th Street intersection. The Triangle Station is proposed within the heart of the Triangle development area. We recognize the importance of maintaining the community character. At the same time, the right-of-way in this area is very constrained. We are coordinating with Austin State Hospital leadership to leverage some of their property. Austin State Hospital has historical significance, and we are working with the Texas Historic Commission to maintain those elements. We also recognize that several of the businesses on the east side are also historic structures. A center platform in the heart of the Triangle area is proposed. We provide one lane of through traffic throughout this area, and the inside lane will be for left turns at signalized intersections. As the Guideway transitions to North Lamar, 2 vehicular lanes will be maintained adjacent to the newly developed state-owned facilities. The Koenig station would be located in the vicinity of the Koenig intersection. The Crestview area will connect multiple types of transit. Lamar Transit Center exists today, but would be expanded as part of this project. This is the northern end of the initial project investment. The existing right-of-way is extremely constrained in this area, including the entire length of North Lamar from the Triangle to Airport Boulevard, which is north of this image. Because of this, we are showing full bicycle and pedestrian facilities in this area, but the tree furniture zone varies based on the right-of-way constraints and minimizing impacts to structures. The tracks are at grade and running in the center in this area. The center platform Koenig station is located south of the intersection. The Crestview area will be a very special place that will connect the Orange Line, Red Line, local bus routes, and improved bicycle and pedestrian facilities. As such, there is significant opportunity to improve North Lamar and Airport Boulevard traffic flow, as well as create a signature station that creates a more walkable area. The current proposal is to depress the Red Line beneath North Lamar. The Freight Line, which operates only late at night, will remain at grade. The Orange Line will be elevated above the Freight Line, and the Crestview station will be elevated. There may be opportunities for transit-oriented development in this area, and redeveloping the area for connectivity will be key as we progress the design. It's important to note here that this design is very preliminary, and we are still exploring design options in this area. The tracks would be located in the center of the main travel lanes of Lamar through the 183 intersection. The North Lamar Transit Center, or NLTC, will serve as the initial terminus for the project and will take advantage of the existing NLTC park and ride. The station will be located in the middle of North Lamar. A new pedestrian bridge will connect the station to both the NLTC and community to the east. Several designs for the pedestrian bridge are under consideration, and we'll be prepared to discuss these designs next year. As density decreases, the distance between stations increases. Since this part of the corridor will be implemented in the future, in the interim, these areas will continue to be served by the 801 Metro Rapid, where they will tie into the North Lamar Transit Center. The Tech Ridge Park and Ride will also be connected to I-35. In this area, we are proposing to add some signalized intersections. Additional signalized intersections would also increase bike-ped connectivity. The Runberg station is shown as a split platform station. In this area, the transitway is located in the center of the existing roadway, and we anticipate providing full bicycle and pedestrian facilities with a full tree furniture zone. While the right-of-way in these areas is relatively wide, slivers of right-of-way will be needed in the areas where there are left turn lanes. The breaker station is in the vicinity of Chinatown and is currently shown as a split platform north and south of the breaker intersection. In the area of the proposed Parmer station, the tracks would be at street level. The Parmer station is proposed as a split platform to the north and south of Parmer Lane. Full and separate bicycle and pedestrian facilities are shown in this area as well. Traveling north, the tracks begin to gain elevation to cross over I-35. The Tech Ridge Park and Ride station will be further designed in the future. For now, the station is located in the area south of the bus loading zone, but this could all be reconfigured. It is critical that the guideway line up to cross over I-35 to hit Center Ridge Drive on the other side, because TxDOT is proposing to connect the managed lanes of I-35 to the Tech Ridge Park and Ride. It's important to note here that this design is very preliminary and we are still exploring design options in this area. And with that, I'll turn it over to Abby to wrap up.
Thanks, Christina. In addition to the details about the conceptual design, we wanted to provide a brief review of the environmental analysis process that's also currently underway. We talked a lot about this process during the scoping round of public meetings in January. You can see those materials at projectconnect.com. An important part of this phase of the project is to identify and evaluate the potential effects the project may have on the physical, natural, human, and cultural environments. During this process, we gather information about places and resources, both from the community, from all of you, and through data collection. We then analyze the environmental, social, and economic impacts of the project and share those findings with you for feedback. This helps us understand your concerns and identify mitigation strategies so that we can better inform the decision-making process. On this slide, we've listed the environmental topics that we analyze in the environmental impact statement. Some of these are self-explanatory, but some are a little less so. We'll provide some additional details. Energy refers to the analysis of construction and operational energy requirements and the potential for energy.
The recording has stopped.
Noise and vibration refers to the evaluation of the noise and vibration caused by a transit system on nearby residences and other sensitive land use types, including schools, hospitals, concert halls, recording studios, and places of worship, among others. Environmental justice refers to the study of potentially disproportionately high and adverse effects on low-income and minority populations. Visual and aesthetic refers to the evaluation of how the project is seen by both users and neighbors. We want to hear more about what topic areas are important to you and any concerns or feedback you may have. Please provide these comments as part of the
This meeting is being recorded.
Guided virtual open house that is online at projectconnect.com or in the breakout rooms that we have following this presentation. We also want to give you a quick set of details about what's coming next. These are the key milestones for the project. Looking ahead to next spring, we'll come back with 30% design plans and complete our evaluation for the draft environmental impact statement. In summer 2022, we will complete the draft environmental impact statement, documentation, and the 30% comment phase, and then submit for an initial rating from the Federal Transit Administration, or the FTA. In the winter of 2022, we anticipate the completion of the final environmental impact statement, as well as receipt of a record of decision from the FTA. All of the information we shared today and the feedback questions we will discuss in the breakout rooms are available on projectconnect.com. So please share the word with your friends, neighbors, and colleagues so that they can visit the website to review materials and provide feedback. We also have 2 additional live virtual meetings similar to this one next week. Feedback received by the project team on or before August 27th, 2021 will be included in the official summary report for this phase of outreach. In addition to providing feedback during this meeting, you can visit the virtual open house at projectconnect.com, send us an email at orangeline@capmetro.org. You can mail us your comment at Capital Metro, 607 Congress Avenue, Austin, Texas, 78701. And you can call our project hotline, 512-369-7703. Again, all of the information we shared today and the community survey is available at projectconnect.com. Community input has been and will continue to be a critical part of the project development process for Project Connect and the Orange Line. The Orange Line will have new information to share with the community for feedback regularly throughout the next year or 2. Stay up to date on project developments by joining our email list. You can do that by visiting projectconnect.com and subscribing to the newsletter. You can follow Capital Metro on Twitter at CapMetroATX, and you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/CapitalMetro. While this marks the end of our presentation, we hope you'll move with us to the breakout sessions to provide feedback, and we are running right on time, which is great news. To do that, please click the link provided in the chat. So that chat is whether you're here on Zoom with us or you're watching this meeting on via Facebook live stream or other live streaming services. Once you click that link, you'll be briefly put into a breakout session waiting room where we'll give you a sort of orientation to what happens next. And within a couple minutes, you'll be invited to join the breakout session that most interests you. So again, it's time to move into those breakout sessions. We want to hear what you have to say about what we've shared with you. We're looking for your feedback. To do that, please click the link provided in the chat, whether you're in Zoom or watching a live stream on Facebook or another streaming service. Once you click the link, you'll be briefly put into that breakout session waiting room for just a few minutes, and then you'll be invited to join the breakout session that most interests you. With that, I think I myself will move into the breakout discussions. Thank you all.